All right. Hi, good morning. It's Wow Wednesday. I'm so happy to be here. I'm Trish Carr, and I'm filling in for the fantastic Nancy Matthews, who's not going to be able to be with us today. And I'm so happy to be here. It's been a while since I was able to host Wow Wednesday. So I'm thrilled I am here. I hope you are thrilled that you too are here. And I promise you, we are going to have the best conversation today because Wow Wednesday is your midweek motivation, education, and inspiration. And get comfortable, get a cup of coffee, cup of tea, chill out, and get ready to take some copious notes because today we are going to be talking about finding, hiring, and keeping great people. In particular, we're going to be talking about virtual assistants and how you can increase profits by increasing your team. And today I am joined by the fabulous Kristen Kramer, who many of you may already know. For more than 11 years, she's provided business management services to entrepreneurs and business owners. She is so good at showing all of us how to double our time. Want to be able to do that. I always want an extra day in my week. To maximize profits, meaning not leaving any money on the table and creating a business that serves us and the world that we serve. She's the founder of Bold Moves Boss and the best-selling co-author of Life by Design and Inspiring Women Who Boss Up. She works with business owners who are overwhelmed and frustrated, although not all the time, but enough that we want to figure out our systems, our processes, and whatever our technology can do for us. So her approach crushes that overwhelm and shows you the bold moves that you can make to boss up your profits and love your business again. Kristen, I'm so happy that you could join us today. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing really well this morning, and I am so excited to be here with you guys this morning. And hopefully drop some value bombs on you and, just really help you guys grow in your business. And I think for me, the most important part is in achieving a business that really gets to be profitable for you and allow you to do the things that you want to do, that you love to do, that you envisioned you were going to do when you started your business.
Yeah, all that freedom. Remember, we were going to have that so much freedom. We weren't going to work for somebody else anymore. We were going to do our own thing and keep all the money. Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
Absolutely. And have a business that actually does it without you in the trenches. So sorry. But I really
No,
appreciate being here this morning. So, and good
yeah,
morning to
me
everyone.
too. Me too. And really, it is, you want to be able to go on vacation. You want to be able to leave for a little bit and know that things are going to still move and get handled. And technology can help us with a lot of that. And we still need a team. So tell me a little bit about who you're talking about when you're talking about virtual assistants.
Yeah. So, I think especially over the last 2.5 to 3 years, that term has become a catch-all for really all sorts of virtual professionals. And I think what we have to remember is a virtual assistant is someone who is a professional. They are a business owner more often than not. They're running their own business as a contractor, providing services to you as a business. And they may do things like social media management. They may run your marketing campaigns. They might be someone that is helping you manage your inbox. And all of those levels of service and support require a different set of expertise. So a lot of times when people talk to me about, I want to get a virtual assistant, they're still thinking in terms of a secretary.
Right.
Right. And sometimes that is what you need. Sometimes you really do just need somebody that can come in and help you make sure that the actionable items in your inbox, when you get them in an email or you get phone call or whatever, that those are being put into some kind of workflow so that things don't fall through the cracks, or they're following up on information that you need in order to perform a deliverable. So let's say you have a podcast or you conduct interviews, you're probably going to need a headshot, a bio, what they're going to talk about, and if they have a lead magnet, right? So a virtual assistant could come in and, help you ensure that you're getting all of those things so that you come into that conversation with your guest prepared and not like, oh crap, I totally forgot to get a bio from you. So can you introduce yourself kind of moment. So I think, when we're talking about virtual assistants, it's very important to understand that really we're talking about virtual professionals that are going to help you and work with you in a partnership to build your business, to expand.
So that you're not doing everything yourself. I remember way back, one of my very first mentors made a really good point to me and said that your time is the most important resource that you have. Time and money are two of our biggest resources. And when it comes to your time, you've got to ask yourself, is what I'm doing now the highest and best use of my time? And really, a lot of the pushing buttons and getting things set up, that's not the best use of my time. The best use of my time is speaking, making sales, expanding my business, looking for partners, finding affiliates. That's my job. My job is to bring in, I'm the rainmaker, right? I'm going to bring in the cash. And every time I'm sitting at my computer doing $20 an hour work, I'm saying to myself, you're not doing what's the highest and best use of your time. But here comes the rub. The rub is when you're a solopreneur or you're a small shop, how do you find the cash, right? Because we're moving, the money's coming in and out, but it feels like there's more going out than's coming in. So what suggestions do you have for for budgeting and figuring out, how am I going to pay for this when I feel like I'm, paycheck to paycheck kind of feeling?
Right.
What do you think?
And I'm glad that you brought that up too, because that's something I was thinking about this morning, is that oftentimes, when we're looking at the cost of bringing somebody into our team, we're not factoring in the cost of us, right? So I have a confession. I recently did this to myself. And it was a great reminder. I lowballed the cost of something that I was helping somebody with. I did it as sort of a favor. I'm happy that I did it. But what I didn't factor in was the fact that the value of my time and the value of the time I was spending working on that versus focusing on the key priorities in my business of nurturing the relationships I have, finding new relationships to build, and then bridging the gap, between where I am right now and where I want to be,
Right.
and really focusing on the revenue part of it, right? So I think when you're weighing, doing sort of this cost benefit analysis, the pros and cons in your head, we're asking some of the wrong questions. We're asking, how much is it going to cost me to bring somebody onto my team? What we need to ask is, how much can I make, or can I grow? Can I capture? Because now I'm freeing up time in my day where I can capitalize on the opportunities coming to me. And I think before you get someone on your team, you do need to be in a specific place in your business. You need to have leads that are coming in. You need to have some revenue coming in, because you're right. It doesn't make sense to bring somebody on if there's no money coming in. But what I would encourage you to do is to say, okay, I know I'm going to have 5 calls this week, and I should be able to close on, let's just lowball it. We'll say 2. Okay.
Okay.
I should be able to close on at least 2 of those. And, depending on what your services or your goods are costing, or, you're charging for what you do, then even if we lowball it and we say it's $500, right? Then if you're able to capitalize on all of those opportunities, the real question is, how many clients do I need to be able to onboard and close to cover the cost of this? And more often than not, the number that you have the opportunity to close on is much greater. That dollar amount is much greater than what it will cost you to bring somebody onto your team. So if, you're looking at probably $30 an hour to start for a good virtual assistant that's a generalist, okay? Somebody that can come in and be a taskmaster for you, that also has problem-solving skills and critical thinking skills, because those are important. As we all know, when you bring somebody into a team, whether it's, as a business owner, or if you've ever been in leadership in an organization, if you have to follow them around all day to tell them what to do and solve every problem for them, you haven't gained anything. So it is well worth the investment to get somebody with those skills on your team. And that means investing in them, because you want them to invest in you and your business.
Well, and that's one of the, thank you, first of all, for helping us to see that it's about making one more sale to pick up that virtual assistant. And if you're going to get a virtual assistant, I know you suggest 20 hours a month is probably where you want to start to get some real impact. Mm. So if you do 20 hours a month at $30 an hour, that's $600. Think about, how many sales do I have to make to replace $600? And if you're already closing 2 out of 5 or 3 out of 5, that's not going to change. You're still able to do that, but now you're able to add 5 more calls. So that's 2 more sales. That's initial every week. So you're going to pay for, and then some, your virtual assistant. And I think what it comes down to is confidence. Mm-hmm. Oh no, am I really going to repurpose that time the way I'm supposed to do it? Or am I going to be kind of like goofing off with it and taking off for the weekend? So there is some discipline that you've got to have to do that. But the other thing I hear is you bring people on, and you just touched on this, was, if I have to follow them around, why do I have them? And that's the thing I hear is people say to me, it takes me so long to explain it, I might as well do it myself. So what's your advice there?
Right. And that is something that I hear all the time. I also hear people say, this is another one, sort of, I inwardly scream, and yet it's kind of one of my favorites that I hear, which is, I got an assistant, they told me get a virtual assistant. It was going to solve all my problems. So I got one. And I mean, she's great. I like her. She seems really nice, but there isn't a lot happening. Like, she's not really doing much. So, and both of those statements sort of play into the same problem, which is, first, like Trisha explained before we started diving into this, is that you really need to understand your role in your business as the CEO, the business owner, the leader. You're supposed to be charging ahead, charging in front of everyone, bird's eye view on the vista, so you can see what's on the next horizon, not down in the trenches, so to speak. And the other thing is that you have to understand that your virtual assistant and most virtual professionals that you are going to hire into your business are there to execute and take action and perform the tasks that you assign for them. And that means being very clear about what you want to delegate. I have people, all the time, they come to me and they're like, Kristen, I need to get a virtual assistant. I can't manage it on my own. I'm not getting contracts out. I'm not getting proposals done. I'm not following up. And I know I'm losing business because I'm not able to be everywhere all at once. So I need to get a virtual assistant. And my first question is always, great, what are you going to delegate to your virtual assistant? And that's usually where I hear nothing but silence. So you really need to take that time to understand where you're spending your time, track it for a week and figure out where you're spending your time. And then look at that list and go back and say, I can delegate this, this, and this. And then it comes to the onboarding, like you said, Trish. How do you make it easy enough to bring somebody to your team and not have to follow them around and micromanage them constantly?
Right.
And that comes to our favorite subject, which is systems and processes. And I know all of you just like inwardly groaned, and it's painful, and it's not sexy. It's not a sexy topic, but it's so important. And you know what? Like it translates to dollars, and making your business easy for you to operate and for you to bring somebody onto your business for them to help you operate it and grow.
Yeah. It's so funny. As I was thinking about us talking about this last night, laying in bed, and I'm remembering my days at AT&T. And I used to work in a call center. So 100 people taking inbound calls. Every question from what time is it now? Like literally people go, what time is it? I'm like, hello, don't you have a watch? You're calling me. Everything from that to my phone is broken to I need a new phone to there's an installer outside in a truck and he's sleeping, like everything. And we'd have to be able to answer all those questions. And I had a place that I could look for answers, but every time I had an issue that I couldn't handle and I didn't know what to do, I would go to my supervisor and I would say, how do I handle this? And the first response she would give me was, what does the operating procedures say? And I would say, oh yeah, we have those processes written down. And invariably, no matter what the issue was, there was an answer in the process manual.
Yes.
And boy, did that make life so much easier for the 100 people in my call center and the other thousands of people in their call centers. Because everything from how you answered the phone to how many rings you're allowed to have was a process.
Mm-hmm.
And it made life so much easier. Our training was 8 weeks to come into that call center. And every single process was easily learned because it was standard. It was written down. The person sitting next to me did it the exact same way that I did it. So when you're talking about onboarding, I absolutely hear what you're saying about having the processes. And I also hear what you're saying about, it's a lot to have to write down. So what do you suggest people do to get started keeping track of these systems?
Yeah. So what I tell my clients is, because that's usually what I hear. I actually had somebody that said, I need to find 6 months in my business where I can just step away from the business and I can do all of that. And I was, I'm a little punchy sometimes. So I was like, well, if you find those 6 months to step away from your business to do nothing but write procedures, you're probably not in business anymore.
Right.
So, because it's never gonna level out and calm, right? Like I gave up on that idea about 2 years into my own business. I was like, if it ever calms down, levels out, I'm out of business.
Exactly.
I just don't realize it. I just don't know it. So there's a couple hacks that I say, and if you're in the early phases of your business, this is a great habit to adopt. If you've been in business for a while, it's not too late. If you have team members already in your business, it's not too late. So the first thing I say is leverage technology. You can open up a Zoom call. You can get on Loom. There are lots of tools, screen recording tools. So what I do, because I like a little vanity here, I like the green screen interface in Zoom better than some of the other ones. So I will open up a Zoom call with just me and hit record, and you can do this in Zoom, so it's nice. But a lot of people use another tool called Loom. And record your screen. And then you're gonna sound crazy to all the people that might be in your house or nearby. Talk about every single thing that you're doing. And if you can add in why, like the thought process that you have and why you're doing it this way while you're doing it, that is pure gold. Pure gold. Because your thought process, if you can document that and teach your team how to think and problem solve the way you problem solve in your business, that is when you get to take vacation and you don't have to ever check your inbox and you're not going to get any phone calls. That is when, you can take the afternoon and go do whatever you want to do and enjoy your time and not get stink eye from your family and friends because you're still on your phone or on your computer instead of with them. So start documenting it. If you have people in your team already, ask them to document it. And, Trish, just like you said, when I got my team and I had them all trained, that was always the first thing out of my mouth. Did you check the SOP? Did you check the SOP? Because when you empower others to be resourceful and you give them the resources, so they can't be like on some wild scavenger hunt, like Pirates of the Caribbean. You can't do that. Give them the resources to find the answers that they need. Then guess what? Nobody's calling you all the time. You're not answering like 1,000 emails of, where did we save this document? Or how do I...
Right. Where did we save this document?
How do I attach a document to an email? And I do get those questions.
Yeah.
Not from my team. I get them from clients. And I'm like, okay, well, here's a video on how to do that. But start documenting them. Video's great, but technology changes very rapidly, especially these days. And Keep, for example, moved to their menu. Wow. So now if you have old videos and you're saying click here, guess what? Here doesn't exist anymore. And I see this on big name platforms all the time where they've got training modules out there. And I'm like, my screen does not look like that. So video is really good for the short term and to help you get the process documented. But then you can take that video and you can give it to somebody who's a systems specialist and have them create your procedure for you from that video. And that's the shortcut. Because when I start talking systems and processes, I could talk for days, folks. But, people are like, I don't have hours to spend with you, Kristen, and give you all this information. I don't have hours to spend with you either.
And it's not really hours. I mean, honestly, it feels like a lot. We just, as you go, you document what you did. Yeah. And that's what the procedure book says. The procedure book says, step 1, press this button. Step 2, enter this information. Step 3, do this. But I want to point out a really important thing that you said. We can all do that going forward right now, starting today. I can start just writing step 1 was this, step 2 was step, boom, you're done. It takes no time at all. Yes. What you said that's so important is what's the thinking behind the button pushing. So doing the video of here's the thinking is not going to change. No. The thinking is, I want to make sure that I'm giving my customer the absolute best experience. So we do it this way, because if we did it this other way, there would be friction. But there's no friction when we do it this way. So that part of, teach a person to fish as opposed to giving them the fish if you can remember that when it comes to training people in your business, no matter who they are, whether they're coming in as a W-2 employee that you're going to have on site, or you're going to have someone on your team that's working with you, how you think is the most important thing. So I'm so glad that you brought that up. Really,
Yeah.
really important. And
Yeah.
then there's, how do you create, you know, everybody comes into your business clean and fresh. And one of the things, I was told two things is what you're looking for. Obviously, you want somebody who can appear to do the job, but most important is, are they trainable and do they have a great attitude? Right? If you have somebody
Mhm.
who's trainable and has a great attitude, you can teach them what they need to know. But there's responsibility and accountability that goes with it. And that's where we get into trouble. So can you talk a little bit about, when I bring someone on, that there is going to be some I'm behind you for a while,
Mhm.
and how to manage that?
Yeah. So it all kind of builds on itself, right? It's sort of like a layering process where you understand what you want to delegate, then you understand that you need, to document how to do those things. And then when you're looking for a person, the other thing is to look for somebody whose values, their core values, align with your own core values of your business. And attitude and trainability is absolutely like it's queen and king of all the things. But you also want to talk to them and ask them like value-based questions, like what's important to them? What do they hold? What are some of the qualities that they hold in the highest regard? Who do they want to work with, or who have they really hated working with in the past? Like if you ask somebody who they've really hated working with in the past, they will talk to you for forever on it, probably, because humans like to complain. But the other thing is it will also reveal a lot to you. And if you start noticing those mismatches, then they might not be a good fit for your team. The other thing is that if once you bring them on, you do set the expectations. So understand, that you'll be training them, and you can either give them the processes depending on how detailed they are, or they can shadow you. I use shadowing a lot, especially in the first month, where we're in a call and they're just watching me, how I do things in my computer and in my systems and how it's working. They can ask questions right then and there. And of course, they also get the procedures to back all of that up. And that leads into accountability, because how do you hold somebody accountable if you haven't explained to them what your expectations are, what they're supposed to be doing, and how they're supposed to be doing it? So when you have your procedures in place, you can kind of lead them back into that, because what I've noticed, especially with teams, your business is being managed by multiple people, you've got 4 or 5 people working with you. They sort of go on autopilot a bit after a while. Cross training will help with that if you mix it up a little, depending on what you've got them doing. But if you have a process and a procedure documented and you've trained them on that, then when you start to notice that they veered off the path, you can have that meeting with them. And the way I handle those conversations is more of a, help me understand what's happening on your end, because this is the process that we put in place, but that's not the way you're doing it. So what's changed? Because maybe the way it needs to be executed on their end has changed, like actually changed, and the process needs to be updated.
Mm-hmm.
Plus you
Like
don't put
that
them back on
button's
their
not
heels
there
and make them
anymore.
defensive.
Right.
But I wanted to go back to the empowerment piece of it. When you empower your team and you help them understand your thought process and how you're building your business and how it's growing, it's important to also let them understand how they fit into that big picture. And it's going to do something very key for you and the future of your business. It's going to give you buy-in, because they will feel and they will understand that their role in the future of your company is tied to their success, and that if they are successful and help you create a successful business and your clients are successful and happy, then that all comes together for everyone to share in that success. And they will want to grow and evolve with you and grow alongside you, and hopefully work with you long term. I've had some clients that have been with me for 10 years. It's like unheard of these days. So, but that was because we collaborated in a partnership versus a manager employee dynamic.
Yeah.
And even my team, grew alongside my company.
Mm-hmm. So I'm sure we have lots of questions out there. So I want to invite people to ask questions and hit that question icon to open up, and I'll open up to those of you who do have questions. I know that you are, this is so important because these issues come up. I don't want to have to follow them. I gave them something to do and they didn't do it right. Part of that comes from I didn't do enough to make sure I was checking in on them at frequent intervals, rather than here's the thing, get it to me 2 weeks from today, and you never checked what happened in between.
Mm-hmm.
But there are lots of issues that come up, and I know that you're doing a master class to support people in how do I onboard, how do I make sure that I'm giving them the right things, how do I know what to delegate and do it with confidence. So tell us a little bit about the master class while everybody's lining up to have their questions answered.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to dive into all of these items deeper in a masterclass that's coming up on Monday, September 12th at 3 p.m. Central. I put a really deeply discounted price on it of just $17. And it's slated for about an hour, but you'll have some worksheets that we'll go through, and you'll be able to take away with you to help you kind of get this process started, or even sort of get back on track if you need to, kind of be nudged back into the pathway of getting your team on board and being productive, so that you're not micromanaging and chasing them around everywhere. And I will go in and share in that masterclass the process that I have on the back end of my business to communicate with my team, and how I manage that for, to make sure that things are getting done. And I think too, the key is that bring in the right people, do it the right way. And what you're doing is you're going to free up time so that you don't have to watch them like a hawk. You can sort of just soar above them and spot check.
Yeah, and that's the key. Just, I'm going to give this to you today. I'll check in with you at noon and see how you're doing. Now I'll wait 2 weeks to see that you don't do it right. And then I'll get ticked off and think, oh, why did I bother hiring somebody?
Right. And the first month, I always tell clients this too. And I tell other virtual professionals, the first month you work with someone is literally like driving on square wheels through molasses in the Arctic.
Yes.
It just feels very arduous. And it's because there's a huge learning curve, right? You're learning how to work with each other, and you're learning systems and what the expectations are. But by the, as you continue on, it gets easier. By the third month, you're starting to get into, a flow with one another. And by 6 months, and I know that sounds like an eternity, but it's not, it'll go by so fast. But by 6 months, you should really be hitting your stride with your team. And of course, along the way, you're adjusting and pivoting and, figuring out what's working and what's not. as you go. Don't wait.
No, don't wait.
Don't wait until you have somebody screaming on the phone at you because they didn't get something they were supposed to get.
Yeah. I think I have a question from Mary Jane Charles. Mary Jane, is your line open? Hit *6 on your phone if you're on your phone.
No, I'm here.
On your laptop. Hi, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Hi, Kristen. Nice to see you.
Hi, good to see you.
So I am one of those, the entrepreneur, not right out the gate, but I am like the vaudeville with all the plates spinning at the same time. And many days they're all wobbly at the same time. And that's when I get the panics. So I have experimented with VAs. I use that loosely. They're experimenting with me. What I've discovered, I'm not to the point yet. I know, and I hope I will be in the hiring mode. I've been, I know where my Achilles heel lie, and there's more than one. And I absolutely respect the VAs who could say, Mary Jane, I did this all the time. I'm like, thank you, God. And I can march on from there and learn. I, as the entrepreneur or the higher, I respect it because I learn as I go. And my fear of the train coming down the track and I'm still on the track, I won't get run over because it is being handled. And I can take stock in that. Back to behaviors in the past, the bosses you don't like are the ones who did not respect that what I did was something they couldn't do. That's why they have me there. So I have taken that with me in this arena, that the reason I'm talking to a VA is because either A, I don't have the knowledge to do it. I'm in too much of a panic to do anything. And it's nice to have a new friend on the block. So, I mean, it covers all the places, but that bad behavior, if you hire someone, respect them because they can get it done and you can't. That's why you're having the conversation.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. And I think you said something very important too, which is it is a respect, but I think when you enter into that relationship with your team, it's a partnership. It's a partnership. And if you can treat it as a partnership and really see it that way and use it as a way to collaborate and improve, then everybody grows and gains success from that.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Jane. Appreciate it very much. Betsy Miller is on Facebook and she said, I just registered and I can't wait.
Hi, Betsy.
Yeah, anybody who's, especially if you're working on your own, it's so great to have somebody that can support you with this kind of work.
It is. And, start small, and realize too that your virtual assistant, the reason I hear these stories of, well, I got somebody, but there's nothing really happening. I mean, and at that point, you really are looking at the dollars. You're like, I'm paying all this money and like nothing's happening. But the onus is on you. I'm sorry, it is. But as the leader of your company, and a lot of owners sometimes are sitting back and they're like, well, I thought my VA would come in and tell me how to fix everything in my business. And that is not their role. That's a consultant. So, they really are the people, feet on the ground, boots in the trenches, like, checking stuff off of your list. And, make sure you got a plan with what you're going to do at the time you're freeing up so that you can capitalize on that.
Yeah, wonderful. Anybody else have a question? Go ahead and hit *6 on your telephone. That'll open you up, or hit the mute button on your laptop. And, one of the things that, you're well known for knowing how to manage virtual assistants, because that's one part of your business. The other part of your business is really creating more time for entrepreneurs and small business owners by having a systematic approach to business. So can you talk a little bit about, because you just said it, that's a consultant, and that's the role that you play most of the time. 80% of the time you're in a consulting role with businesses, 20% of the time you're helping them with VAs. So tell us, in terms of systems, what are some of the things that we should be looking at right away to start getting systematized?
Yeah. So, funny story. I was kind of laughing about this because I was reading through some posts the other day, and I saw that somebody, and I'm not saying that this is the funny part, but so it's not a judgment, but he hired somebody specifically for scheduling. And my first thought on that was, why wouldn't you just automate your scheduling? Like, why are you hiring somebody to do nothing but scheduling? I think that's the low-hanging system.
Right.
That's the easiest
easy
to implement. And I
system.
would highly encourage you to just get on board with that. Definitely, so here's the long answer, and I apologize for this in advance. You need to understand where you're spending your time and where you're grinding. Okay. What in your day are you finding yourself repeating time and time and time again? Those usually repetitive tasks are usually things that can be automated. So as a consultant, what I do with a business owner is I really sit down and I go, okay, where are we today with your business, and what's working in your business? And then like, what's making you crazy in your business, right? And for that gentleman, it would have been scheduling was making him crazy, right?
Right.
And yes, having somebody on your team or building a team, even if it's just bringing on one virtual professional, might be the answer. The other answer might be to understand how you're using your time bank for you and where we can operate more efficiently by systematizing, by automating, by getting you paired up with the correct tech stack instead of you subscribing to 20 different sales and marketing platforms. Let's figure out which one's the right one and then shed the rest. And then you might also find that you really do need a virtual assistant. And when you're at that cusp in your business where you're sort of, thinking, I really don't have enough money to get a team, and I really don't have enough money to get a consultant, because that's usually they're like, no, I need a VA. I need you to tell me what I need to do. Like, I need somebody to actually do it.
Mhm.
That's when you really need to assess where your time's being spent, where your effort's being expended. And then look at, what does it make sense to delegate out? What does it make sense to delegate out?
Yeah.
What is your brain required to focus on?
Good.
And
you're going to, and in the master class, that's exactly the things that you're actually going to go over.
Yeah,
right,
we're gonna work on it. I'm not just gonna yammer away at you and then have a Q&A. We're actually gonna work on those pieces, because I'm about action. Like,
yeah,
let's not
absolutely.
just make another pretty plan and fill up another
Piece of
worksheet of
paper,
stuff.
right.
Let's actually do something with that information and put it into action.
Yeah. Let me go to Evis Ramirez, who's with us. Evis, how you doing?
Hello, good morning.
Good
Have a wonderful
morning.
Wednesday. Thank you for this information. I'm a solopreneur and definitely I need a VA. I just not there yet. So how do you identify as a business owner exactly what you can delegate and to just concentrate in the task that you need to make it rain? And where is a good place that you can find good trusting virtual assistants?
Oh, that's the $1 million question. Ding, 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 ding. What do you think?
Yeah, so I have several organizations that I partner with that have a very thorough vetting process for their network of virtual professionals. So that cuts out some of the work, because, and I've done this in the past too, where I post into Facebook and I'm like, does anybody know a good virtual assistant, I see these all the time. Does anybody know a good virtual assistant that can help me with, getting me out of feeling like I'm drowning in my business? And it's usually really vague. But, having those strategic partnerships and working with someone, whether it's me or someone else, that can help you tap into those organizations. And I can, give you guys a list too, so that you can go out there and, see what they have. But working with an organization that has a solid network and that has a track record, I think is really important. And I have a list of those, and I can send those over to Susan, and she can send them out to everybody, and I can post them in Facebook too, so that you guys can have them. That's part of it. And then I really think it all boils down to, if you know what you want and need and can explain it clearly, then you can find the right person for that. But you have to first start with where you're spending your time. So my suggestion for you would be, document your time and look at how you're using your time. Are there things that can be automated? What of the things that you're spending your time on could someone else do, so it doesn't require your expertise or your thought process in order to do those things? And that's the list that you can delegate. Then it's a matter of finding the right fit for your company, your core values, and what you need them to do in your organization. Did that help?
Definitely.
Okay.
Yes.
And
Thank you. And
Evis,
that list will be awesome.
Evis, you said you weren't quite there yet. What's missing?
Missing the financial.
Trying to figure out how can I pay
Yeah.
for it.
Exactly.
So again, Kristen, we talked about that a little bit earlier. Can you give Evis some thoughts about how she might be able to figure out how she can manage the money?
Yeah. So this is where you sort of have to pick your poison. And I know I'm just harping on this, but you really need to understand where you're spending your time, and where in that picture can you let go of some things. Maybe they're not, you need to prioritize. So maybe going to, being on webinars, or I don't know, or social networking. If it's working for you, then you should definitely invest in that. And if it's not working for you, then maybe it's time to pick up the phone. But you really have to understand in your business where you're expending your time and energy, and figure out, of those activities, what's actually getting you the biggest bang for your buck. And your buck in this case is your energy and your time that you're expending on it. So, if you're grinding your wheels, like, okay, we like to do stuff that doesn't put us at risk of being judged. So it's easier sometimes to sit down and create a landing page, or it's like suffer through building your copy because you want the perfect copy, right? But those things are sort of distractions and avoidance of just diving in and having the conversations and connecting with people that you can serve in your business with your talents and your area of expertise. So really take stock in where you're spending your time. Are you putting the majority of your time into the things that are going to get you the biggest return, i.e. clients? Or are you maybe allowing yourself to spend a lot of other time in areas that are more comfortable and less risky, so to speak? Because yes, they're necessary, but they're not really the priority. They're not the urgent priority. So, the Eisenhower grid.
And I think, Evis, for you and for anybody else who's wondering, where am I going to get the cash to do this? Because that's always the first question.
Yeah.
How am I going to find $600 a month to hire a VA when I feel like I'm just covering my bills now? I think the masterclass would be great for you and for anyone else who's in that thinking right now, knowing I need help, and yet I don't know how I'm going to manage this. And Anna Brooks said something in the chat a little bit ago that really goes to this too. She said, this is a great start to what processes to document and record first, right? Because we just talked about make sure you have your systems down, because understanding that is the beginning to identifying what apps, what software, what tools, what technology is working for you or not working for you. Because so many of us are using some technologies, but we may not be using the right things. So I urge you, Evis, to go to the masterclass. I think that'll help you really get clear on what can I do to create the income to get a virtual assistant, and then when I have them, what am I going to give them?
Right.
Definitely.
And again, really us working on that in that space for that in that masterclass, because that way you can see where you have time to focus on revenue generating activities. Where can we work more efficiently? And what down the road, when you're ready to start delegating it out, what are you going to delegate out? Because that's really where everything starts. Once you understand where you're spending your time, what you need, and then prioritizing it, then the tech stack, what your processes are that you're going to start documenting first. And honestly, I would say if you need to start documenting every time you do anything in your business, if it's not documented, just start a screen recording session.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anytime.
Evis, thank you so much for the question, because you said what's on everybody's mind.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Huge question.
Thank you, Evis.
And thank you,
you,
Anna, for that point.
Yeah, awesome. Let me go to Olivia Jones. Olivia.
I just want to share something really quickly. I have a cousin who is, she has become very successful on YouTube. We were on vacation in Orlando and we were trying to connect with her. And she had her virtual assistant answering her telephone. I thought that was totally awesome. And it just really reiterates and reemphasizes the fact, you talk about what are you spending your time on, what your needs are, and how you can prioritize. And I was like, wow, that is totally amazing. She has her virtual assistant there for her so she can go and record her YouTube recording. She does real estate. So she's informing and her clientele all about the information necessary for first-time home buyers. So I just was like, okay, yes, this makes complete sense. And I think it's also good to see, how others are utilizing their virtual assistants and how it might be beneficial for you, in your business. Because as I looked at her, I'm like, oh, okay, she's using her like that. And I could see how it's helping her to be successful in her business. So
yeah, absolutely. That's that. And it's huge, right? I mean, because here she's able to, focus on using her time the way she wants to use it versus constantly answering the phone. And she's able to deliver that personal touch to her clients at the same time. So yeah, I think having a virtual professional and building a team in your business, that's the next level. When you start out and you're the doer of all the things, and we all start there. I mean, the vast majority of us do, unless you have capital funding, we all start there. But there does become that tipping point. And when you're at that tipping point, you've got the leads coming in. You have a client base, that's starting to grow and build momentum around your, behind you around your business. And at that tipping point, you start to realize that if you're going to grow and if you're going to still continue to provide the level of service that you built your success on and continue to gain momentum with it, that you need help. And that's when you have to really start looking at how do you balance that. But if you start now and laying the foundation, then when you get to that tipping point, this will be so much easier.
Yeah.
And if you're already at that tipping point, or you already have a team, like I said, and you haven't documented, it's not too late. It's never too late.
That's right. You can always start. You can always start. I'm looking on Facebook. Pastor Dorothy Ross is registered. Yay, Pastor Dorothy! So great. I'm getting lots of great comments. Gloria Truhe said great information. Stacy Clark, the maximizer, who is all about technologies, getting great stuff from you with hearts.
Thank you.
So it's this has been a really good conversation. Whether you have virtual assistants now, you've thought about it, or you never thought about it, this is a good conversation. If you are in business, the only way you're going to be able to get some of that freedom time you wanted is to have a virtual assistant. And then you can work on the things you love to do rather than the things that you feel are weighing you down. Isn't that why we're in business? So that we can do the things that as John Maxwell says, your area of giftedness. Do the things you love and let other people take care of those back end things. So I urge you to be a part of the masterclass. The information is in the chat. It's also on Facebook. Kristen Kramer, thank you so much for expanding our thinking this morning. And I know that we're all looking forward to the masterclass. Last words of wisdom.
Oh, last words of wisdom. Just remember that your business is an evolution. We as entrepreneurs, it's like walking on the surface of the ocean. So we're always in an ever-changing landscape. That isn't going to change, but what will make staying on the surface of the water, so you don't get a face full of salt water, is really getting to a point of what I like to call functional chaos. Because you have everything in its place and a place for everything, so to speak. And you also are truly able to build your dream around your area of genius and have a business that's serving you so that you can serve others the way you always wanted to, and not be just a slave to your business on a constant treadmill, but actually thriving and stepping into your own power and really loving being an entrepreneur. And as Trish, you've said in the past, being the captain of your own ship and truly reveling in that instead of it feeling like it's just going to crush you. We want to revel in being the captain of our own ship. And, that's truly what I'm passionate about. And these are the ways that I help people do that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Kristen, for being with us today. Thank you all for being with us today. And whatever you do today, make it a wow Wednesday. Bye-bye, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.